A man asks his wife if he's the only one she's ever been with. She said, yes, the other guys were at least 7s or 8s.
A wife comes home late one night and quietly opens the door to her bedroom. From under the blanket, she sees 4 legs instead of just her husband's 2. She reaches for a baseball bat and starts hitting the blanket as hard as she can. Once she's done, she goes to the kitchen to have a drink. As she enters, she sees her husband there, reading a magazine. He says, "Hi, darling, your parents came to visit us, so I let them stay in our bedroom. Did you say hello?"
A doctor walks into the room and tells his patient, I have some bad news for you. You really have to stop masturbating. The man looks aghast and says, Doc, why? The doctor replies, I'm trying to examine you.
A man walking along the beach finds a lamp and gives it a rub. A genie appears and says, "I'll grant you one wish." The man thinks momentarily and says, "I want to be irresistible to women." The genie snaps his fingers, and the man turns into a credit card.
A man gets home after work and finds his girlfriend dressed up as a policewoman. She says, "You're being arrested under suspicion of being good in bed." 2 minutes later, she is getting dressed again. The man asks her, "Will you take me to jail, officer?" The woman sighs and says, "No, all your charges are dropped due to lack of evidence." A guy walks into the bar of a restaurant and goes to the bartender and asks, "How much for a beer?" The bartender replies, $1. The customer, completely amazed, orders a beer, then asks the bartender, "Well, then how much for a New York sirloin with a side of mashed potatoes and salad, and an entire cheesecake for dessert?" The bartender replies, $5. The guy, still amazed, then orders everything, and after he is done eating his meal, he says, "Wow, this place is amazing. I really wish I could meet the owner of this place." The bartender then says, "Oh, well, he's upstairs in his office with my wife." The guy looks confused and asks, "What is he doing upstairs in his office with your wife?" The bartender then says, "The same thing I'm doing to his business." A family is driving behind a garbage truck when a dildo flies out and thumps against the windshield. Embarrassed and trying to spare her young son's innocence, the mother turns around and says, "Don't worry, dear. That was just an insect." "Wow." The boy replies, "I'm surprised it could get off the ground with a cock like that." A young guy walks into a drugstore. He says to the cashier, "I've been invited to dinner at my girlfriend's house. Afterward, I hope there's a chance I get lucky, if you know what I mean." The cashier responds, "I assume you'll need condoms then." He gives him a pack. The guy pays and heads for the door, but he smiles and turns around to come back. You know what? Her mom is pretty hot too. I think I'll take another pack. Later in the day, while he's at the dinner, the guy sits at the table but doesn't say a word. The girlfriend's mother asks him to say grace. He prays, and prays. After he's finally finished, his girlfriend tells him, "I didn't know you were so religious." He replies, "I didn't know your father worked at a drugstore." A man decided to tattoo his wife's name on his penis. When hard, it reads Wendy on the side of his shaft. When soft, it only reads WI. On his honeymoon in Jamaica, he's in the bathroom and notices the guy at the urinal next to him also has WI tattooed on his penis. He asks him if his wife is also named Wendy. The guy replies, "No. Why do you ask?" The husband explains his Wendy tattoo. The stranger laughs and then says, "When hard, mine reads, 'Welcome to Jamaica. Have a nice day.'" One day, a retired couple that has been married for 50 years struggled to keep up the romance in their marriage after their looks had faded. Their hair turned gray, their skin sagged, and their bodies became more tired. One day, They figured out a way to keep their love alive, and well, they had a nightly ritual to eat dinner together completely naked. One day, the wife told her husband, "This is really working because my tits are so hot for you." The husband replied, "I can see that, sweetheart." The wife asked how he could see that, and the husband replied, "Well, one of your nipples is in your tea and the other is in your soup."
Harry and his wife are having hard financial times, so they decide that she'll become a hooker. She's not quite sure what to do, so Harry says, "Stand in front of that bar and pick up a guy. Tell him that you charge $100. If you got a question, I'll be parked around the corner." She's standing there for 5 minutes when a guy pulls up and asks, "How much?" She says, $100. He says, "All I got is 30." She says, "Hold on," and runs back to Harry to ask, "What can he get for 30? "A hand job," Harry replies. She runs back and tells the guy all he gets for $30 is a hand job. He agrees. She gets in the car, unzips his pants, and out pops this huge. She stares at it for a minute and then says, "I'll be right back." She runs back to Harry and asks, "Can you loan this guy $70?
Three guys are drinking in a bar when a drunk comes in, staggers up to the counter, and points at the guy in the middle, shouting, "Your mom's the best sex in town." Everyone expects a fight, but the guy ignores him. So the drunk wanders off and bellies up to the bar at the far end. 10 minutes later, the drunk comes back, points at the same guy, and says, "I just did your mom, and it was sweet." Again, the guy refuses to take the bait, and the drunk goes back to the far end of the bar. 10 minutes later, he comes back and announces, "Your mom liked it." Finally, the guy interrupts, "Go home, Dad. You're drunk." A guy walks into a bar with a monkey, sits down, and has a few drinks. Suddenly, he notices the monkey has snuck away, and there is a loud commotion at the pool table. "Hey, mister, your monkey just ate our cue ball." The monkey runs back to the bar smiling, but the bartender is not. The guy apologizes, buys everyone around, and takes the monkey home. A week goes by, and the guy returns to the bar with his monkey, but this time, he has him on a leash. He sits down at the bar enjoying his drink when suddenly, the monkey jumps up on the bar, grabs a peanut, sticks it up his butt, then pulls it out and eats it. The guy just shakes his head and explains to the bewildered bartender that ever since the cue ball incident, the monkey now checks everything for size before eating it.